Hey everybody, Maude here. Thanks for joining us. This week I've got a video specifically designed for senior golfers or those of you who maybe struggle with some flexibility. Maybe you've got some knee issues, maybe around this area here you don't quite have the flexibility to make a big turn, but one way or another you've got injuries or lack of flexibility that is preventing you from making what you would class as the typical golf swing. Now, the typical golf swing, I kind of mean, if you see the guys on tour, they're like these massive, big, massive swings here and these lightning fast hips. And you know, as well as I do, the chances of the average golfer making those moves is so slim that if they did try, you know, we're going to do our back in on the way back or going to pull out a hip on the way through. It's just not likely to happen. These guys are at the gym nearly every day. They've got physios, you name it. So as a senior golfer, those of you who maybe lack a little bit of flexibility, what I suggest is that you make some alterations so that you can actually generate extra power in your golf swing, but with a few little tweaks, all right? So that's what we're gonna cover in this week's training. We're gonna help you get more power, but in a way that protects your body and gives you longevity in this game. Before we do that, if you are new to the channel and this is one of your first videos, please consider subscribing. I release videos just like this one every single week to try and help you improve your game. So, as a senior golfer or someone who likes flexibility, what can you do? Well, we've got to first of all get into a position where we store some power. Yeah, we need some power stored. We need to make a coordinated swing, so because we want accuracy as well. Yeah, and then once we've stored it and we've made some form of coordinated motion, we then need to learn how to release it with a good amount of power that isn't going to do our bodies any damage at all. That is what we're going to cover. So how do we do that? So the very first thing, how do you store power? Well, you need to make it easier. So you'll see with the guys on tour, the big guys are able to make a bigger turn. Now, but most people can't, right? So what you need to do is you need to make storing energy easier. So what's going to happen, what I want you to do is I want you to draw your right foot back a little bit here and move out your toe, right? So your trail foot here, you're going to move it back a little bit. That, in a sense, clears this trail hip, the right hip. Move your right foot back a little bit here, I'll flare it out a little bit there, and all that does is provide some space. That simply frees up this side. If you free up this side, what's going to happen? You're going to be able to make a bigger move on the way back. But it also does another thing. A lot of people, in terms of accuracy here, they generally take the club back with their hands and they take it back with their arms. Now the reason why they do that is because they don't move their torso very well. So ideally, when we take a club back, you want to make this lovely coordinated move away. This is one of the keys to accuracy in a golf shot. The problem is, when that foot's there and you struggle with flexibility, your body's going, I don't want to move. I'll just use my hands, I'll use my arms, and there you go, that's it, that's enough for me. So you immediately become discoordinated. So what I want you to do is to help this process, you're going to help your turn now by drawing it back, you're going to help your turn by moving the right foot or flaring it out a little bit to the right hand side. And the third thing here is that's going to help this lovely coordinated motion, because now suddenly you can move your body and your hips in a lovely move away from the ball. The next thing I want you to look at is this, your head. Allow your head to move. So many golfers I'm finding, and particularly some of the senior golfers who have been told to keep their head still, you just won't have the flexibility in your neck to keep it still and make a turn. So have a look at, in a sense, the ball with your lead eye, for right-handed golf it's a left eye, tilt your head this way, and this allows, again, more mobility in the neck. You've got more mobility in your hip, you've got more mobility in your knee because your foot's flared out. Now we can make a much better coordinated motion. Simple as that. So let's have a look at that to start off with, right? So I'm drawing that foot back, moving my head, I've flared moved my hip back, I've moved my toe back, and I'm simply going to now make a big move here and move back into the ball. Let's have a look at this in action. There we go. Now, then we need to move on to the release. So here's the issue. There's one drawback with what we've just done. So if you do all those things and you draw this back, you move back here, you make a wonderful move back, you've now stored some energy. The downside to it is we've restricted hip rotation on the way through. We struggle now to potentially get through because you've blocked this side out. It's a lot harder. If you move your foot forward, it's a lot easier to rotate on the way through. Move it back, it's a lot harder. So the difference is I don't mind that, right? So for the top players in the world who have a huge amount of hip speed, and yes, we encourage hip rotation because it improves squareness of contact, it stops the swing being too handsy. Well, that's great for those guys because they can launch it high, they can launch it long, they can launch it straight. But do you know what? We have to make some compromises, and this I think is one of the best ones to make. What we want to do now instead is you need to make a compromise. And this time what we're going to do is I want you now to get the sensation now when you've made this big turn here that what you're going to do is you're going to practice releasing the club here out in front of you. So if you look at my chest here, I'm pointing everything out almost to the right hand side, not down the line but to the right, and I'm actually going to practice getting the toe of the club when I'm doing this starting to point down, or the face of the club starting to point down to the ground. So the visualization you need through impact is you're going to try to visualize a shape of shot that is going to move right to left. Now for a lot of senior golfers and those flexibility issues, they generally cut the ball a lot. So this will really help also to straighten your shots out. So let's have a look at this again. We've drawn it back, we've made a big move here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to release the club earlier, right? We're not going to try and get those hips out of the way because they're going to be too difficult from here, right? We're going to encourage club head speed. We're going to start to practice, in a sense, from here, firing the club down towards the ground. Notice here as I'm doing this as well, I'm letting my right heel come off the ground. As I'm releasing this club, I'm just practicing this. This is what you would do if you threw a ball. If this right heel stays too still, you'll start to look like this because again, you won't have the flexibility in the hip. So what we need to do is to practice. You made a big move here, we're going to practice releasing this way. Face to floor. Face to floor. Nice and coordinated. Let's have a look at this in action and then we'll have a look from the reverse side. So, big move back, face to floor, and I get this lovely movement that is going right to left, and it's loads less strain on the body. So from this side, let's have a look at it from here. What I've done here is I've got an old shaft here. I'm just literally sticking it down, and I'm going to point that shaft a little bit to the right, but let's have a look at here. What have we done? This is a normal square stance. We need to free up some space so we can store some energy. We want to draw the foot back here. That releases the hip. We're going to flare the right foot out. That releases the knee, more rotation, yeah? We're going to move our head. We're going to start looking at the ball with our lead eye, our left eye here for right-handers. All to provide, in a sense, mobility in the neck, mobility in the torso, mobility in the knees. That helps us now to make a lovely move away from the ball, but it also, look, it helps us to make a coordinated move away from the ball. Stops us just using our hands and our arms. So we're making a move away. Brilliant here. Now, this is the difference between this and a modern rotational swing. Top coaches here will tell you to go to release those hips, get those hips driving through in this position. But look, this is fine if you have that mobility, but a lot of people don't. So instead, what we're going to do is this. We're going to compromise. We're going to make this motion here, and then what we're going to do, our thought here is this. Is to practice here, just releasing the club, literally releasing the club and so the face goes down here. So notice as we do this, I'm practicing here, turning and pointing my body out there. So if we look at this angle, it's like a triangle. I'm practicing returning the face to the ground, triangle out in front here. So it's just triangle. In order to do this, you'll see my right heel is coming naturally off the ground. So I want to keep it flowing. 1, 2. There we go. Just get that sensation. Get into a rhythm with it first, and then away we go. So draw it back, flare it out, move my head. Great. Now big movement back, and away we go. Maybe I should concentrate on my alignment there. I set it up a little bit too far to the right attacking. Okay, let's set up a little bit straighter. So we're going to draw that foot back. We're going to flare that foot out. We're going to turn our head, all to provide some space. Then what we're going to do, that creates some mobility here, and then we're going to literally practice releasing the face to the ground whilst literally allowing this triangle to pointing this way. So we're just getting that rhythm going, release to the ground, and visualize that lovely shot. That moves right to left. Big movement, and then away we go. Lovely movement, right to left. For those of you who, in a sense, cut the ball as well, this could be really, really useful. So let's summarize. If you're a senior golfer or you struggle with a bit of flexibility, you need to, in a sense, learn to store some power at the top of your backswing position. The way you do that, you move your right foot back, trail foot for left foot for left-handers, but right foot back. Provides mobility here. You move your right foot out, more mobility in your knee. You move your head this way, so you start looking at it with the ball with your lead eye, provide more mobility in the neck. Now you can make a much more coordinated motion. Without that, it tends to be very handsy, yeah? So nice, good movement here. The next thing after that, you're going to have to learn to get the club releasing a little bit more here. So we're releasing in a sense, the face to the ground. Again, try to get that sensation, just as you would if you're throwing a ball. It's a full body motion here. You're flowing through. You're not just kind of flashing your hands at it here. You're getting this whole motion here. So the foot's coming naturally off the ground, but just get a rhythm of that. It's too complicated to think of all those things, so you try to get a feeling of it. Visualize the shape of the shot as you're doing it, and it is as simple as that. Take your time with this. Start to feel the rotation first on the range. Start with that, hit some balls, then introduce the release after that. I really hope it helps. It certainly helps to add a completely different shape to your shot if you cut the ball, and you'll find it so much less, more pain-free on the body as well. So hope you enjoyed it. If you do, give it a thumbs up and maybe share it with one of your friends who's maybe struggling with a bit of flexibility. And of course, if this is one of your first videos and you want to see me next week with some more advice, then click that subscribe button and the bell, and I'll see you next week.